Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube, where we talk about killer stuff and tons of money. Today, we are going to continue our 4,000 subscriber Q&A series. Welcome to part 5. Spoiler alert, there will be a part 6. It's just too many questions for me to get through in one sitting. So first question, Sean, here goes a question I would like you to cover in an upcoming Q&A. Well, congratulations, I'm covering it in this one. Are the certified 1-ounce Silver Eagle MS70 coins a good long-term investment for a coin collector? Okay, guys, I've been meaning to do a video on this for some time now. I do not like graded modern era silver coins. The only reason that I will tell somebody to get a graded modern era gold coin is because at least if you send a 1-ounce American Gold Eagle or a 1-ounce American Buffalo gold coin to PCGS or NGC, if they encapsulate it, they automatically authenticate it as well. So if you go on eBay and you buy a legitimately graded MS69 PCGS American Buffalo Eagle gold coin, you know that you are getting an authentic gold coin. But for the most part, I do not like grading modern era coins. I'm sorry, there's too many out there. Yes, there are people that do want to put together a complete American Silver Eagle coin set in MS69 or MS70 condition. Some of those coins, especially from the 1980s or even the 1990s in certain instances, do sell for a premium on the secondary market. But overall, I am not a fan of coin investing in that manner. If you are going to collect American Silver Eagle coins or American Gold Eagle coins or American Buffalo Gold coins, you want to do so from the standpoint of somebody that is looking to diversify in precious metals. That's my advice to you. So I would not be playing the graded market for modern era silver or gold coins unless if there is a reason behind it, meaning you need to authenticate the originality or the authenticity of the coin in question. That would be the only reason. That's just my 2 cents, pun intended, on this particular topic. There are going to be more videos on this topic coming up because I am getting a lot of questions on this. I don't know if it's because of the price of silver at present time, but I'm getting a lot of people even emailing me asking me about this. If you are going to invest in silver or gold, my advice to you is to buy 1-ounce coins and also buy them by the roll or buy them singly ungraded. That is my advice to you through a precious metals dealer that you trust and a dealer that you've worked with before. That is how I would play this market. Next question. Sean, question about Lego collecting and or investing. Do you think the price point, exclusive minifigures aside, helps the larger, more expensive sets hold value and appreciate better than cheaper sets? The answer is yes or no. Here's the problem that you have working against you. Right now, everybody and their mother is speculating and investing in factory sealed Lego sets from the modern era. So what's happening is it really doesn't matter as to the price point. Yes, if you're a less financially established speculator that's coming into this market, obviously you can't afford to buy 10 copies of a $400 Lego set. But there are people out there that are doing just that. So it depends on the set in question. Let me give you an example. If you guys remember, many years ago, Lego introduced the Taj Mahal set. And everybody thought it was a great set, and it was retired. And a lot of people came into that market, and they had some factory sealed sets of those put away. Well, roughly a couple of years went by, and Lego re-released that particular set, which meant now the original release that a lot of these speculators and investors had stashed was now going to be worth less on the secondary market because anybody could walk into a Lego store or log on to Lego.com and order that same exact set because Lego re-released it. So it's more important, if you are going to play the market for $400 plus Lego sets, that you go after sets that have no chance of being re-released. And in today's modern era times with Lego keenly aware of how much their items are selling on the secondary market, I will tell you that comes with some risk because Lego is cautiously monitoring the secondary market, and I think they are going to release more of their classic sets that came out over the last 10 years that are selling for a significant premium. Funny story, I knew a guy on the CGC comic forums that had literally 20 plus 2007, 2008 Death Star sets that retailed back then for $399.99 sitting in a storage unit, and he was waiting for the day that Lego discontinued that set and he was going to start selling them for a premium on the secondary market. Well, lo and behold, what did Lego do? They discontinued that set right around 2015, 2016, but they also re-released the new designed Death Star set that they were selling for $499.99. I do know that guy was very pissed. He was livid about that. And my response was, and I didn't post this in any of the forums on the CGC comic collecting site at that time because I didn't want to upset him, is, dude, what are you doing? Why are you storing $400 Lego sets in the multiples of tens, hoping that once they get discontinued, you can sell them back into the secondary market for a premium? In this case, it didn't work out so well for him. So be very careful if you are playing this market. That is my advice to you. Next question. Sean, I'm really interested in getting involved in the market for vintage advertising. I'm seeing a lot of great pieces premiere on both Antiques Roadshow and American Pickers each and every week. Can you offer your insights into this market and also recommend any books I should read to get my feet wet before spending any considerable amounts of money? Okay, full disclosure, I love the market for vintage advertising. If I would ever take a camera through every room in this house, you would see I have a lot of vintage advertising gracing the walls. Everything from vintage Coca-Cola signs to vintage Pepsi signs to vintage 7-Up. I love this market on average. The problem is, since the year 2010, 2011, with the premiere of the American Pickers reality show, which premiered on the History Channel, a lot of these prices have been soaring. Now, to be fair, vintage advertising is part of the established market on the antique side of the trade. It is well on its way to becoming a mature and sophisticated market. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. But you got to be aware that if you are choosing to invest in this market now, there's a lot of pieces out there that you could have had for $500, $600, $700 back in 2008, 2009 that are now going to cost several $1,000s on the secondary market. So yes, this market has a lot of long-term price potential, meaning you should get involved in this market if you take the time to learn it. The book that I would advise you to get is going to cost you less than $15 at any bookstore or on Amazon.com. It's called Picker's Pocket Guide to Signs. It was written by Eric Bradley, very knowledgeable guy in the antiques and collectibles trade. I think he is affiliated with Heritage Auctions at present time, but he writes a lot of these books on antiques and collectibles, and this is, in my opinion, one of the best books that he did on this particular subject matter. So again, this is the book that I would advise you to get. I will tell you, please know your budget before you get into this market. It is quickly becoming a sophisticated market in the antiques and collectibles trade. There's a lot of high-profile people that are manipulating this market, even at present time. I do have a video planned for this channel, and I don't want to give too much away, where I talk about how I learned about market manipulation in the antiques and collectibles trade. And one of my mentors back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, he lived in Bardo, which is literally like 5 miles from Boyertown at best, probably less. Well, anyway, I used to go to Jake's Flea Market up in Bardo, and I met him, and he took me back to his house, and he showed me all these awesome vintage advertising pieces that he had, and how he was literally, back in the day, manipulating the market for a lot of this stuff. So be careful. In this market, it is prone to a lot of market makers and a lot of market manipulators, because a lot of these pieces are scarce and they are extremely valuable on the secondary market. So that's my advice to you. Do your research before you get involved heavy in this market. Trust me. Please take my advice on that. Next question. Sean, I really enjoy your videos. I have a question. I have a Resident Evil Gaiden on Game Boy Color, but it is not fully sealed in its original wrap. What are your thoughts on it? Would you grade it? How would you sell it? Honestly, I would not grade this. I would not even consider sending it to VGA or WADA for any type of assessment, even if you don't want to grade it. What I will tell you is I would just list it as it is and take what you can get for it. Resident Evil Gaiden is not a coveted game on the Game Boy Color. I understand some people like the series. There's people out there that want to collect every Resident Evil game in existence. I understand that. But it's not something that's going to sell, in my opinion, for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So I would forget getting it graded because it's not fully sealed. Another thing that I will tell you is whatever you get for it on eBay is the going price. Please do not let people convince you that, oh, well, yours is mint in the box, therefore it's worth a couple $100. I would honestly assess this item to sell for less than $100 at present time. I could be wrong about that. Maybe you guys are going to post in the comment section, Sean, you're out to lunch. This is one of the rarest games in the series. I highly doubt that, though, guys, honestly. Without looking it up, Resident Evil Gaiden is not that special, in my opinion. So if you are going to grade it, I would highly, strongly advise you not to, but I would tell you to just list it on eBay and take whatever you can get for it. This is not an item that is of investment grade caliber that you want to hold for a long period of time. It is not something that's going to sell for thousands of dollars in the future. So just take the money, put it into something else. That's my best advice. Next question. Sean, I've only ever seen one example of a video game getting a perfect grade and no examples of a comic book or anything that comes in a box like a Funko Pop or a console. Despite many being pulled from a factory sealed case and then being carefully packaged and sent off for grading, what separates a VGA 95 plus or a 9.9 condition item from a perfect grade in your opinion? Okay, I want to answer this once and for all. Some of the comments that I get in this channel are geared towards CGC or AFA or Wada Games or VGA, and they all say, hey, how come I don't see too many perfect graded video games, comic books, action figures, toys, video game consoles, whatever it is? And you must understand, guys, these are mass-produced items. Nobody at the manufacturer's level is sitting there going, you know what? We're going to produce X number of copies of Super Mario 3D All-Stars for the Nintendo Switch. And if they come off that production line and they're not in impeccable 9.9, 10-point grade condition, we're going to send them back, we're going to recycle them, and we're going to scrap the whole production run. Do you understand? These are more items that are being used by consumers. I've said this before. Same thing with your Amiibos, same thing with your Funko Pops. All these items that have a collectability to them, they are not manufactured as graded collectibles when they come off the production line. And this goes for Magic the Gathering, this goes for Pokemon, this goes for every collectible card game out there, even ones that I'm not mentioning, Flesh and Blood and the like. Yes, there is a mass-produced scarcity to these items, meaning the manufacturers are producing these items because they know they're going to sell for a premium on the secondary market. But what I am going to tell you is when they grade these items, their job is to take any defect into account and deduct points as a result. So naturally, just by that standard, any particular item, even if 100,000 of them or 10 million of them are out there on the market, if you send them in for grading, obviously most of them, the vast majority, are not going to come back a CGC 10 or a PSA 10 or a Wada Games 10.0 or a VGA 100, whatever the grading scale that company uses. It is more in the norm for them to get graded much lower. Now, if you guys recall, I did have a couple of Nintendo Amiibo that were graded by VGA that came back graded 95 plus. That was because I was getting these items in their original factory sealed case. I was opening up the case and I was picking out the best condition items to send the VGA for grading. The average person who's buying this stuff off of a store shelf, the highest grade that you can hope for, unless if you get it on launch day and they're literally pulling it out of a factory sealed case, is pretty much, in my opinion, a VGA 90 or in some cases a VGA 95. You are not going to get a 95 plus or 100. In regards to Wada Games, a VGA 100 would be equal to obviously a Wada Games 10. Those conditions are very scarce. That's why I tell you guys, if you guys are going after vintage video games and you see a vintage GoldenEye game for the Nintendo 64 or a Pokemon game for the Game Boy that's coming up for bid and it's a Wada Games 9.8, what is it that I always tell you guys? be very careful. There's more than one out there. Most likely that game was pulled from a factory sealed case. So this is a, pun intended, case in point. Now, you go on to ask, also, if you happen to get some run-of-the-mill modern game or collectible in one of these high grades, meaning a WATA Games 10.0 or a VGA 100, is it still likely to have value in the future? Yes and no. Somebody will pay a premium for it just because it is of a high grade. Meaning I was selling gold Mario amiibos that were graded by VGA, 95 plus condition, into the market for $300 to $400, believe it or not, guys. And people were happy to pay that to get that particular item in that particular grade. Would I do that? No, that's not a wise investment in my opinion. But people out there that are playing these markets, if they want to buy a modern era speculative collectible, they will pay a premium to get it in that high of a grade. So I hope that answers your question. I would not recommend that as a strategy long term, though. In other words, I would not be sending in my factory sealed amiibos hoping that they come back a 95, 95 plus, or in some cases 100, and then saving them for their investment potential over the next 20 to 30 years, because that's really how long it's going to take for that collecting category to get traction in an established hold on the antiques and collectibles trade. So I hope that helps answer your question. Next question. Sean, do you see collectors moving towards a PSA, BGS 10 or bust mentality? Yes, if they are hardcore investors that want to invest in the top-notch grade level of those said collectibles, yes, I do see a lot of people moving towards BGS 9.5 quads, PSA 10s, if we're talking about Pokemon and Magic the Gathering cards. That is important. Now, what I will tell you, is it boom or bust mentality? No, because there's going to be a lot of people out there that as those price points become more and more expensive, they're not going to be able to afford to go after a Library of Alexandria in PSA 10 condition, or even a Mox Emerald from the Unlimited Edition in BGS 9.5 quad. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be obtainable for everyone's budget. So when that happens, there will be collectors that still want the card, and they're willing to go after a PSA 7 or a PSA 8 or a BGS 8.5 quad, whatever they can afford. So that should help answer your question. You go on to ask, same question for prints. First print or bust mentality. It depends on the collectible that we're talking about, and that's very important. There's a lot of people that are foolishly paying a premium for first print Nintendo Amiibos at present time. Guys, Nintendo Amiibos came out in 2014. We're in the year 2021. They are only 7 years of age old. We don't know how the secondary market is going to respond to the Nintendo Amiibo line just yet. You literally have over a 20-year wait to find out how that's going to play out. So certain markets, I would not be paying a premium for first prints. However, overall in the antiques and collectibles trade, I will tell you, overall, the standard is the first print is the one that's most valuable. The reason why I'm picking on Amiibos is Amiibos are not part of an established collecting genre as of yet. It takes pretty much 30 years for a collecting category to form in the antiques and collectibles trade. That's why I don't put a lot of emphasis on mass-produced pop culture collectibles at present time, because the market for a lot of these items can shift over the next 10 to 20 years. It is a given. Next question. This question was worded a little bit confusing, so I'm going to read the way that it was worded, and then I'm going to tell you guys what this person means by asking this question. And again, that's no disrespect to the person that wrote it. I want to make that very clear. Great videos, Sean. My question is, I'm getting ready to retire and will move from my permanent house to a mobile retirement, living in long-term stay hotels and apartments for the next 10 years, moving all around the USA. So what this guy is saying is he's getting ready to retire and he's going to travel around the US. He's not going to have a permanent residence. What do I do with my sports card collection that I kept in my house for years that is worth around $100,000? I can help you with this. Do you have a bank that you frequent where they know you, and if they have a safety deposit box, I would deposit the collection there, and pretty much make sure that every year you pay the premium that comes due on that safety deposit box. And if you're ever traveling through that town again, you stop and view your collection and make sure that it's okay. But that's one recommendation for you. Another recommendation I would make is I would sell off part of the collection that you're not emotionally attached to and only keep some of the items that you are overtly attached to, and then again, put that part of the collection in a safety deposit box. But outside of that method of storing this collection for doing what you're doing, that is going to be the best possible outcome. This is not a collection you want to take with you from state to state or traveling. It could get lost, it could get stolen, it could get destroyed, it could get damaged. So you definitely want to rent a safety deposit box for this collection, in my opinion, unless if you know somebody that you really trust who can hold this collection for you in like a fireproof and burglar-proof vault or safe. That would be the next best thing. But ultimately, I would encourage you to go back and watch the video I did on safety deposit boxes. Watch that video. Then, if you have a relationship with a bank at present time, I would rent a safety deposit box and I would store the collection there. And just every time that you're visiting that town, stop in, make sure the collection is okay. That's the best advice I could give you. Next question. Sean, what do you think about the current and future state of the niche market for Neo Geo MVS games and full arcade kit collecting? Okay, in regards to any type of arcade games, I do not like the market at present time. There's few exceptions there, but overall, Arcade 1-Up came in and changed that market indefinitely. It was a catalyst in that market. It transformed it. There's no going back, guys. I know a lot of collectors. I know a lot of people that had literally houses with full-fledged arcades. When Arcade 1-Up came along, they started selling off all their original stand-up arcade machines. And some of these markets are being flooded with a lot of these arcade machines at present time because people are looking at the market for Arcade 1-Up and they go, hey, I could get that game over there that has 5 of my favorite arcade titles made by Namco or Sega or Atari. I don't need to keep all of these stand-up arcade machines that have a tendency to break down or need work and maintenance and are a bitch to move and store. So that's what's happening in this market. Whether you like it or not, the market for vintage arcade games and stand-up devices like this is changing. Now, if you want to get involved with investing in antique slot machines, pinball machines, that's another story. Those markets are on fire at present time. But the market for vintage arcade machines, stand-up original arcade machines, that market is in the doldrums at present time, and I consider it weakening over the next 10 to 20 years, with few exceptions. There's always going to be that rare arcade game that offers a unique play-like experience, or that rare game that was only available in a few arcades or in Japan or in Europe that will sell for a premium. But overall, be very careful in this market. We're going to take one more question, then I'm going to end this segment, part 5, of the 4,000 subscriber Q&A series. Congratulations and Happy New Year, Sean. I would like to know what your thoughts are on new and vintage camera lenses as an investment. Okay, I got to be 100% honest. This is a very niche market. I do not like it from an investment standpoint. Now, if you are a hobbyist, if you know this market very well and you can make it work, where you can get into this market, you can analyze it, you have people that are coming to you looking for certain vintage camera lenses and or equipment, by all means, you do you. I don't want to talk you out of your knowledge in this market, but just know it is a very niche market. It's very small. We are talking a fraction of the size of even Pez collecting in this regard. I'm going to be very honest. So that should tell you that if you're going to get involved in this market, you really got to know the market dynamics. You have to have connections in this market. You really have to know what works over the short term and the long term. Hope that helps. That is the last question. Please, if this particular content interests you, please consider subscribing to this channel. Part 6 of this Q&A series will be uploaded to YouTube within the coming days. Thanks for watching and have a great night.